Hi everyone, my name is Nikki Lerzak. I'm the Instructional Services Librarian at Genesee Community College, and I wish I could see you all in person, but we're going to have to do this virtually, things being what they are. So, this video is to help you with using library resources for your ECO 105 assignment. What we've got is a couple of things here that we need to pay attention to. You need to find some information about location, history, a lot of financial information, standard of living, inflation, some changes might be going on. There's a lot of changes going on in the world today. We're going to run into that as well while we search. You've got to create a paper or a presentation, and you've got to use APA style. I have created off of the library's website an ECO 105 course guide, as we call them, and on that guide you will see links that take you to virtual books through the library's book catalog, as well as some reference books online, country information and some business articles, and a list of good websites. We're not going to look at everything on that ECO 105 guide, but we're going to look at a representative sampling of it. Obviously, as I've alluded to, we need to go virtual. The library is physically closed, but virtually there are librarians available to help you through our chat and email services from Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. So let's get started by going to the library's website. And here is the library. So that course guide, as I mentioned, is down underneath the search box. And ECO, there is only one ECO 105 class listed, and that's you. I have a number of boxes, one of whom is that Ask a Librarian box. There's email, there's chat. You can reach out to us through those. And I've done an arbitrary sort of categorizing. So I say these are resources good for geography. These are resources good for business and economics. Some of them cross over. Gale eBooks is good for both. So you'll see a couple of resources that do more than one thing. The book catalog, the library's book catalog, there are books available on many countries, and there are books available virtually. I'm going to do Iceland as my example. Depending on which country you've chosen, you might find a lot of resources if it's something big and Western like France or the UK, or if it's somewhere smaller, a little less Western like Burkina Faso or Timor-Leste. You're not going to find a lot. So bigger countries, more Western countries, easier to find things. I found 110 results based on Iceland, but they're not all great for me. I would want them to be the newest that I can have, and I want them to be available online. So I'm going to make those changes to my search, tweak them, so that now I'm looking at the newest and what's available online. Which is not to say that you might not still run into some technical problems. Not all of our stuff talks and works well with each other. As I scroll down, I hit number 7 here, which is Gambling Debt, Iceland's Rise and Fall in the Global Economy. And I'm going to click on that to see a little more detail about it. It is from 2015, and it does tell me that it will talk primarily about the global financial crisis of 2008 and 2009, which might be a little old for us, but there may be some continuing fallout from that crisis that would be interesting. So this is available through something called JSTOR Books Open Access. Clicking on that takes me to the JSTOR link. I may or may not, depending. I've already logged in, so you might have to log in. But it's open access, so I think that will just come straight up for everyone. And this book does have a lot of things going on. It even starts off with some historical Vikings invade present-day Iceland. I don't know which Vikings we're talking about. So here's my book before the beginning. And to go to the next page, I've got little arrows over to the side. I'm hoping that's supposed to be blank. It is. All right. So here's my book. I could shrink this stuff over onto the side, in theory, or not. I could make this big. There we go. So now I've got my book. All right. So yes, there are books that you can read online through the library's book catalog. But if you're looking for some nice encyclopedia overview type information for your country, then country information is easily found in this Gale eBooks. I'm going to go to Advanced Search. I'm going to put in my country, Iceland. Most of the time I want to search this as the subject. I want it to be about Iceland. And I'm going to usually want to change this to be new information. So now I have something from 2017. It is 16 pages long. It talks about Iceland. And yes, it does. Location, size, topography, climate, and it's going to go on like that for 16 pages. The encyclopedia database of Gale eBooks is great. But is it as great as Country Watch? No, which is why Country Watch is at the top of that box. Country Watch is an amazing database for information about countries out there in the universe. So right now, I am looking at Country Watch, and the country reviews, I think this is because I've got my screen set a little bit bigger. If I shrink it up, if I shrink it up, instead of having to click on the menu, my menu choices are all on the top. So country reviews are one of the two places that are important. And we love us. We default to the US. I want Iceland. So I'm scrolling. I apologize if I make anyone sort of seasick with my scrolling, by the way. And here I am in Iceland. All of the things you see over on the left-hand side is the information that is covered here. So there's a basic section about the country. There's some politics. There's an economic overview, so I can go to the economic conditions. I know that this is, I think, a couple years out of date. I want to say this is like 2016 or so. So obviously it's not absolutely up to the moment in the country review, but there is a lot of information here. A lot of this will answer many of the parts you need to do for this paper/assignment. Country data is another really useful thing to know about in here. With country data, I can look for all sorts of really interesting things. So if I knew, for instance, that Iceland had to do with precious metals, if I knew that they exported zinc, and I knew that they consumed gold, and I don't know if they export nickel. These are all guesses. And I'll assume, like most people, they use corn. So I can look for all of these different things. Do they make hydroelectric? That seems reasonable. They have volcanoes. So I have all of these different options. Obviously, depending on what I know about my country will make it easier for me to say what I want to know about it. You'll have to do a little research before you come here. There's Iceland. And I can select a range of years because I'd like to see how things have been changing over the last 5 or so years. Oh, you're going to move me again. I'm in the way. Always in the way. All right, and filter. So what it does is it creates, let's move me back down. It creates this file where you can see they do produce hydroelectric and they do export tin. So I've got a file I could download with information that this might be something I would include in a presentation. There's a lot of different parts of information I could have looked at. I just chose a couple randomly. This is really nice. So country data and country reviews are two important places to check out in here. All right, besides that, articles. So back to that ECO 105, I'm going to come to Business Insights Essentials. And now I'm going to do an advanced search because I like advanced searches. You don't have to do them, but it lets me do more tweaking. So I'm going to change this search to subject is Iceland and search it. The two different databases that I mentioned, Insight Essentials as well as Business Source Complete, they do cover different periodicals, so different magazines, different journals, so they won't have exactly the same thing in each of them. They'll both have something slightly different. I am sorting by relevance again. Let me change that to by date. So I do see something as current as of February 11th. I can search within. So if I was looking for a particular term like inflation, I could now look at that list of results and say, okay, just give me the ones that mention inflation, please. So all sorts of limiting. I could have done that at the beginning when I first searched Iceland. I can always do it later. The other database, Business Source Complete. So I get put into the advanced search automatically. And I'm going to change that to my subject, Iceland. And 3,800 articles. A country review, this is that Country Watch again. So when I said it was a couple hundred pages, it is a couple hundred pages. So Country Watch is both a database unto itself as well as some place that other databases point you to. I want to do my most current, right? So date newest. And I've got something about quality of life. Travel ban. Cuts rates in an emergency meeting. Gosh, I can't even imagine what emergency we might all be facing right now. I could also, again, add more things. Like I could come up here, whoops, and do cost of living. And add that to my search, which will take that down quite a bit to 14 items. And it does actually then get a little bit old, so that's not quite as current as I would have liked, but it is within the last year. All right, lastly, those websites. So like I said, there are a bunch of them here. The CIA World Factbook is a really good one. Select a country. Find my Iceland. There they are. So this or that Gale eBooks database, both of these are good for basic information. There's my economy of Iceland, GDP. So they may each also have something the other doesn't. I would check out both of them just for, completeness sake. Now, that other one I mentioned, the UN Comtrade database. The Comtrade database, this is an intense database. I love it, but it's intense. So where do I want to go? Well, they've got this thing called data visualization, and they give you these really great maps with all sorts of cool stuff. And when I was playing around in this, one of the ones I really liked as I scroll down is something called, where are you? There it is. The DITBEIS, International Trade in Goods and Services Visualization. So I thought, that's pretty cool. So let's go to that guy. All right. Once it's done loading. All right, you would want to walk your way through this. There are little arrows there. It's a little hard to see because I'm blocking it, but you could walk your way through it and they will explain the various parts of the database. So the first time you visit, it's good to have them tell you what the different parts are, but I'm going to close it because I've been here a little bit. So right now, we're reporting on the UK. I don't want the UK, so I'm going to choose a reporter, and that's the country that we're interested in. So obviously Iceland is the country I'm interested in. Let's go find Iceland. Oops, too far. Iceland. And now what I've got, here's Iceland. We're highlighted in red. What I can see are the different countries that they trade with. So if you'll notice that UK is the second largest export market down there in the corner. Spain is the third largest export market. Who's the first largest export market, right? You might well be asking yourself. It's hiding right down in there. It's the Netherlands. Who knew? So I can see, they trade with the Netherlands a lot. Let's go see what they do with the Netherlands. So I can come down here, although that is a little tricky. There they are, the Netherlands. So the reporter is Iceland, the partner is the Netherlands, and so I can see their imports and their exports with the Netherlands. I can see the top 10 things they export to the Netherlands, mostly aluminum and then fish. So a lot of interesting things that I can find out about the way Iceland reports. I could just do the way Iceland reports with the world. So that's just, a more generic thing. What does Iceland give to the world? But what I love about this is that if I highlight over different parts, I can find out what they do, who they trade with, what they trade. So it's kind of cool and fascinating. All right, the last thing I need to talk about is APA style. So you do need to cite things in APA style. The library is still doing APA 6th edition. I know that your instructor has also moved to APA 7th edition, which is very similar. So if you have questions about how to make sure that you are doing the latest version of the APA style, it hasn't changed super dramatically. What has changed all the way at the back here, there is a, there we go. We do have a sample paper in APA style. APA 7th did do away with this running head. It did do away with an abstract page. So you don't have all of the things we talk about with running heads. But for the most part, a lot of APA has stayed otherwise pretty similar. So, for instance, if you were going to cite an ebook like that Country Watch database, you might want to come and take a look on page, what page is this? Page 4, at the bottom of page 4, you can see where we tell you how to cite things from ebooks like Country Watch. You can also see how to cite from encyclopedias like the Gale encyclopedias if you use that online. Otherwise, we do have places where you can search and cite from books. Oops, sorry, I lied. My edited book from Country Watch is on the bottom of page 2. So bottom of page 2, an edited book, you can see an example right there for how to cite Burundi. So if you use that Country Watch database and you cite a particular country, a lot of this information would stay the same. You would just swap out the date of your report, which can be found easily by clicking on that big PDF or by looking, asking a librarian. That's another way to do it. So you would have to search the section here for how to cite websites and how to cite books. I hope this has been helpful.